thanks folks. Thanks for that. We're on to item 13 in our agenda, Councillor Induction and Training Programme 2022. Mr Evans, please.
Thank you, President Member and councillors. Firstly, I'd like to thank the work of the Democratic Services Committee and the working group that helped me compile this report. It's recommended to you for adoption. As you can imagine, it may require further tweaks because hot topics will arise between now and when the induction programme will actually be launched post the elections on the 5th of May. One issue which obviously we feel we need to strengthen already is about this personal safety of councillors. And one issue that I will take on board with that is when nominations open for the local government elections in March, we will ensure that a personal safety for councillors and for candidates, a basic guide, will be given out to all those candidates. Hopefully they will read it and hopefully that will ensure they're kept safe. So tonight you are asked to agree the mandatory compulsory training areas that have been recommended by the Dem Services Committee, to adopt the training programme, obviously subject to any changes due to hot topics, and then to authorise myself as the head of Dem Services to work with a corporate management team to populate the training provider, the date, the venue and the time of councillors' training and induction. So I have nothing else to add to the report, but I will take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Hugh. It's unusual, but I've got Caroline Davis, Democratic Services, with a hand up.
Oh. Hang on. Do you have an issue, Caroline?
Stay, Caroline.
Yeah, we seem to be okay.
No. Okay, Councillor Will Thomas. Will.
Thanks, Presiding Member. Yeah, Hugh, with regards to the training, obviously there's a new influx of councillors, of which some of us might make it, some of us might not next time. I'm just wondering, the workshop that you did last time, are you planning on running that again? And if so, you know, I found it really helpful, but I wish it had been a bit longer, because obviously once you start a conversation with someone, you know, that's 10 minutes gone, and you kind of wish there was almost a little break, and then there was the opportunity to go back into the workshop. So I was just wondering if you plan on doing that, and if so, if it could be a little bit longer for, you know, for newer councillors and anyone else, really. Thanks.
Okay, I'll try and answer that. Firstly, I think you're talking about the marketplace event, as we called it. It was held in the Kent Room. Was it the Kent Room? No, the George Hall. I apologise. Yes, the recommendation is that we include that. We've recommended we don't use the George Hall, but instead we move to the Brangwyn Hall to give the space, because we thought space was a bit tight where it was last time.
Yeah.
It was deliberately set at half a day last time because we didn't want to tie officers up for a whole day, because obviously it's quite unproductive for occasion. But it's something I certainly will raise with CMT. I take your point that time does disappear quickly when you've got 75 councillors wishing to speak to officers.
Yeah, I was only in there for about an hour, I think. I don't know, maybe I was in something else or something, but I only thought it was on for an hour or so, and I think I spent the whole time talking to Tracy, so apologise for that, Tracy.
Yeah, it was open throughout the whole morning, and then people were able to dip in and out after training, after short training courses. But yeah, I'll raise that with CMT. That's a fair point.
Okay, Councillor Rob Stewart. Rob.
Thank you, Chair. I was just coming in to formally move the report on Mr Evans's behalf.
Great. Okay, thank you. Is it seconded formally? Councillor Hopkins. David Hopkins, are you going to second it? Thank you. Right, got Councillor Leslie Walton. Les.
Yeah, thanks, Presiding Officer. I just really wanted to echo something that's been said earlier. about safety in regard to social media training, and I'm very pleased that that is compulsory. And it's not compulsory because we want to force people to do it. It's compulsory because it's such an important area now, and it links in with this idea of personal safety, because it's very important that people understand the difference between dealing with somebody's opinion, which might not match up with yours, to dealing with somebody who's trying to be abusive, not very nice, and how you should differentiate between the different approaches on social media. So I think it's a very important session, and I'm very pleased that it's there, and it's the first one on the list. I mean, it's not necessarily the first one that's going to come ahead, but it's a very important thing, and I think it's going to be so essential for any new councillors. Very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Les. Councillor Terry Hennigan.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Obviously, I'm sure the officer will go through the code of conduct, that constitution, perhaps the whip portfolios, but also important, I think, is the booklets that we used to fetch out many years ago with the councillors, A to Z, the services, and them sort of things, not only for councillors, but also perhaps the couple could go into the schools if we can involve young people in the future, and perhaps the libraries. And myself personally, I look to a refresher course. Thank you.
The council has made a decision some time ago not to roll out the A to Z guide. Obviously, it's on the website, and because obviously it's a living document, it is amended regularly. Councillors are given a copy, but it's quickly out of date, and that's why it is an e-version, and it's easily obtainable from our website. And we know we use generic email addresses such as highways@Swansea rather than giving an officer's name, so we future-proof that type of stuff as an authority already.
Okay.
And refreshers would be interesting as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry. Right, it's the recommendations are on page 239. They've been proposed and seconded that they be adopted. Take the vote, Mr. Evans,
Yes,
please.
just as I'm launching the vote, Chair, I should make the point as well. It was remiss of me not to say it. When I talk about councillor induction and training, this is for new councillors and returning councillors, and I need to make that point. Education and learning is a lifelong thing, and there are certain best practice guidance that councillors should be trained at least once a term in many of these things, such as corporate parenting, safeguarding, etc. So please remember that. Right, the vote has been launched. Are there any verbal votes? If you could raise your virtual hands. What have I got?
4, Chairman.
I
Peter Jones.
Councillor Peter Jones. Okay, if you could raise your hand, it helps me a lot, right?
Can't get it. Thanks.
Okay, who else? Councillor Mike Dirk.
Yes, I'm for.
Is that a historic or a legacy hand, Rob?
Leader.
Yeah, apologies, Chair. It was a legacy hand.
Right, any others? Got Councillor Mike Lewis. Councillor Mike Lewis.
Yeah, sorry, I'm in trouble with my mute button here. Yes, 4, please.
And any other verbal votes? No. Okay, I shall close the poll. But hopefully you've all voted for it because it was a good report. That's unanimous for. Thank you, Chair.
Good, thank you. Wendy Fitzgerald, Councillor Fitzgerald, put your hand up, is that intended?
No, sorry, Chair. Sorry, I've got some problems here. I can't get my vote app working properly. I don't know if I voted last time.
So,
It didn't submit, I'm afraid.
okay.
Okay, vote's been taken anyway and it was unanimous.
Yeah, I was still struggling.
Okay, thank you. Item 14 then, amendments to the Council Constitution, the Democratic Services Committee, and it's going to be by the Ms. Meredith, the monitoring officer.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I'll be very short. This is a full information report, just updating the terms of reference to the Dem Services Committee following legislative changes via the Local Government Democracy Wales Act 2013.
Okay, that's for information. Unless there's any questions, nobody indicating. No, it takes us to councillor questions on page 251. And I remind members that supplementary time allowance is 1 minute for each supplementary, and answers is in our standing orders is 3 minutes. Okay, they're your rules, not mine. Thank you. Question 1, Councillor Will Thomas.
Thank you, Presiding Member. It's just a quick point on the reply I had, that there is no actual commitment to a maintenance plan for CADU, and as I understand it, that is what CADU recommends. So just really asking the Cabinet Member for a commitment on a maintenance plan. I know it says here that this is the recommended approach, but as far as I'm aware, CADU like to see a maintenance plan for the castle. We don't have one, and there's no commitment in here. So just asking the Cabinet Member if we could do that, please.
Are you asking this just for Oystermouth Castle or for all the listed buildings in Swansea that we have?
I mean, specifically, my question's for Oystermouth Castle. You know that.
Well, I can't give that commitment just to Oystermouth Castle. Obviously, we do our best, and you know, I would have hoped that you would have had the interest of all of Swansea and our heritage, not just being parochial. Obviously, it would be nice if you supported us when it comes to budget time to have the money to it, because if I can remember correctly, you voted against our budget at the last time we had the budget. But any applications that's needed for it will be treated on its merits. Our track record of looking at the heritage of Swansea, I think, has been better than many councils. If you look at the Palace Theatre, if you look at the Albert Hall, if you look at the bridge up on the River Tower, and what we are doing in the Copper Quarter, or bringing back these Grade 2 listed buildings. Money was spent in 2010 on this castle. As you know, it's a 12th century castle, been fought over many times. The English took it and the Welsh took it back, and the English took it again, the Welsh took it back, and we've had the Warwicks and the Duke of Beaufort. The Duke of Beaufort gave it to Swansea to look after. Obviously, the Somersets couldn't make any money on it, yet they do on the rivers. They kept the base of the river. It would be nice if they'd given us the base of the river, that we didn't have to keep money to the Duke of Beaufort for doing nothing. So, look, our track record on looking after the heritage of Swansea is exceptional. Now, I know we're in the funny season and you are looking to, you know, perhaps win votes and say, look, for Oystermouth. I have responsibility for heritage for all of Swansea, and then we will look at priorities of what is needed. We've always worked well with the Friends of Oystermouth Castle, and Councillor Joan Peters, when she was there, was a great advocate and was always pushing for Oystermouth Castle and worked well. If there's anything specifically needed, we will probably apply to CADU to get some funding from them. And I'm sure if you can help there, perhaps talk to the Secretary of State for Wales to give us more money, because years ago we would have been able to apply to the EU to get funding for some of these schemes. I know we were successful today and some money coming through, but nothing like the amounts we would have had when we were in the European Union. So that money's got to be made up, and I'm sure the Secretary of State for Wales will keep the word of his boss and make more money available to us here in Swansea and Wales.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Question 2, Councillor Chris Holly.
Chairman, Presiding Member, can I go back to the first question? I would like to support Councillor Robert Francis Davis in a couple of things he said.
By all means, yeah, go on.
When we had the money to do the castle up in 2010, and I think it was actually approved in 2008, but these projects take so long to come to fruition. We were promised then that there would be an ongoing, I think, a programme from Cadw and Welsh Heritage and what have you. It's not, with respect, as much as I'd like the council to spend money on it, it's at the end of the day, it's an historic building that should be supported by the Welsh Government, and I feel that we do put money towards it, and we were very, very fortunate to get that 2.5 million, or I think it was a bit more than that actually. But I do think that in the future there should be some national funding towards these buildings of hugely historic importance, and I know that Councillor Robert Francis thinks the same.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, Chris, do you want a supplementary on question 2?
Yeah, thank you very much, Presiding Member. Can I thank the Cabinet Member for his response? And pretty sure, like myself, he was concerned about the fact that in that particular piece that was put on Facebook, which I would like him to have actually said in his answer that, what people put on Facebook, I think listening to what Councillor Leslie Walton said earlier on with regards to being careful about what we do on these social media, I absolutely totally agree with him. But this in this particular item on Facebook, it says that the messaged Councillor Rob Stewart, leader, several times, and also I heard a recording of children screaming and wailing, pleading at the meeting with West Cross Councillor Mark Charles, who promised to do what he could. I would, if it's possible, I would like the Cabinet Member to tell Council that action was taken. I understand exactly that the Care Council for Wales and the Welsh Government are responsible for Anestyn, but if we are approached as members, as the leader and former Cabinet Member and former Lord Mayor are approached, surely as for our own benefit, for the councillors' benefit, they must have had an answer. And for a safeguarding issue, I wonder if the Cabinet Member could tell us if the leader and Councillor Mark Charles reported to him what they'd been told and what his reaction was.
Okay, Councillor Elliot King.
Thank you, President Member. I agree with the comments around Facebook, Councillor Holly. I think people are very quick to write things on Facebook sometimes without thinking about the consequences of that. On the question that you ask, I'm aware that the ward councillors have been dealing with issues there and helping residents. I'm not aware of the details, the exact details around that, so I'm happy to provide a written response from the department as to what actions were taken in response to that, in response to the queries raised.
Thank you, Councillor King. I think it's incredibly important that, as been earlier pointed out in item 9 on this agenda, we are corporate parents, and as such we have a responsibility, regardless if the child is from Morriston or Merthyr or from Loughor or from Llandeilo. We as councillors, elected members, we have that responsibility, and I would like, if it's possible, to have a written report on that.
Thank you, Chris. Councillor Mary Jones.
Thank you, Presiding Member. In the response, thank you very much for the response. It's paragraph 4, and it says about the Care Inspector at Wales. They have actually been visiting, but also the setting has an improvement plan in place, which they have developed following the most recent inspection. What I would like to know is, are you happy with the improvement plan and the way things are moving forward? And do you think that we're getting value for money? Because as the previous speakers have said, this is an area that we need to be very, very careful about. We also understand that the placements are done by the Education Department, so we actually do have a vested interest as a council, and yes, we do want our young people to flourish and to be in a safe environment.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Yeah, I would agree that clearly the most important thing is that we have the best care for the young person that they need. I think as the response to the question mentions, there was due to be a further visit undertaken during the beginning of this month to look at the quality of care and look at that kind of thing. So again, I'm happy to provide a written response around that once that visit's taken place and seek that assurance for you.
Thank you very much.
Leader, Councillor Stewart.
Yeah, just quickly, Chair, in relation to the point Councillor Holly made, yes, I was contacted, and yes, I did forward those on to the department for a reassurance. And as Councillor King has said, he'll obviously provide you with some details on that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. As I said earlier, we can have all the fancy buildings and what have we like, but it's very, very important that we, and I'm sure Councillor Elliot King would agree with me, that looking after our children, and especially most vulnerable, is the most important thing that we as corporate parents can do. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Question 3, Councillor Mike Day.
Yeah, thank you, Presiding Member. Thank you, Cabinet Member, for the response. As the Cabinet Member and others would know, this is a matter of great concern to the residents, not just of the Sketty area, but wider afield, in terms of ensuring that we are able to protect our historic heritage and also to protect our natural environment in Singleton Park. So could the Cabinet Member give an assurance in terms of the timescale for the publication of the survey that's been commissioned, and also an indication of when the cross-party group will be reconvened?
Thank you. Cabinet Member for Delivery and Operations, Councillor Hopkins.
Thanks, Presiding Member. What I would like to say to Councillor Day, that once that information is ready, and once we are in the position where we can recall that working group, then I certainly will. What I will say that there's a lot of research gone into some of the buildings there that are of some great historical importance, and we are very mindful of that. But I will assure you, once we're in a position, I am going to tight time scale, but what I will say is, as soon as we can, I will reschedule that working group.
So is it likely to be before May next year?
I would have hoped we can get some. Hopefully we can. I'm not 100%. Let me get the details of exactly when we can provide that report, and I'll contact yourself and the members then.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Stewart, is that historic? Yes, it was. Okay, thanks. Question 4, Councillor Cyril Anderson.
Thank you, Chair. I have no questions.
Sorry, you didn't get that, so.
Yeah. Sorry. Thank you, Chair. I've got no further questions.
Thank you. Question 5, again, Councillor Cyril Anderson.
Chair, sorry, Chair, to interrupt, but I think I have my hand up for question 4.
Okay, beg your pardon, Wendy, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, it was just to comment on the fact that in the list it is talking about, and I'm sorry to be parochial, Chair, but it is mentioning that Pentagare upgrade is due to start on the 1st of November. Unfortunately, this isn't happening. And I've been told that the nature of the delay relates to the supply chain of the contractor. And when I inquired still further, it appears that the contractor actually imports rubberized surfaces from South Africa. whereby they're due to unrest, a number of factories have been impacted. Now, you know, in view of climate change and all the issues about long distance travel, I just wonder to what extent do we look at our contractors, those that we contract with to do this kind of work, and where they get their supplies from? You know, isn't this something we really should be looking at these days? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Wendy. Who's going to take that?
It comes under my name, presiding officer. We have been providing, as you can see on the list of parks that we're doing, 37 play areas. Now then, because of the pandemic, the actually supply of certain materials have been very difficult and you've only got to talk to anybody in the construction industry or people even trying to do jobs at their home, getting a continuous supply. Now, all these contracts have been advertised on Sell to Wales. We have endeavoured to use contractors all from within our region or within the South Wales area. There have been some delays on certain areas, and the wet core, I'm not sure. You were saying is coming from South Africa. I don't know that. But I must say, I personally am very pleased with the amount of play areas and in the timely way. And I must pay due regard to people like Christy Tillman, who has been managing this, and the project manager, along with people like Kerry Davis and Jeff Williams in the Parks Department, for the excellent work that they've all pulled together, and other people, to get over 37 play areas put in. And I'd like to pay thanks especially to the leader as well, because when I asked him for finance at the beginning of the year to actually put into our play areas, whereas for 12 years of austerity, all that seemed to be happening in our play areas, and we talk about the rights of the child and the rights of the child to play, the leader made sure there was £1 million available. That has gone up to, we've spent over 2.2 million on these 37, but it's still left certain play areas. And I point at Gowerton for just as something to look at. £30,000 and plus £6,000 from the member there was put into it, but it still didn't have a good play surface put there. And that is why I'm really delighted in the announcement the leader has made today of this further 1.9 million. That would bring up that we would be spending £4.3 million in this year on our play areas for children. Plus, when you look at the further £500,000 that has been added now for the skate parks, that's a commitment to something almost like £4.9 million we would have spent on children having the right to play in their community, wherever that community is within the city and county of Swansea. So I'm delighted with that. Yes, there have been 1 or 2 delays with the contracts, trying to get people to tender with all this amount of work that has been going on. And what the pandemic has taught us is that children's right to play near their home, in our parks, is very, very important. And I'm really glad that we as a council have taken it up to provide all those play areas in throughout the city and county of Swansea. I'd like to thank also Councillor Andrew Stevens, who I've worked with, and all the members. We've had meetings with every single one of you throughout the year to try and develop our play areas within. You had to make some tough decisions because there wasn't enough money for everyone. But with this announcement today from Councillor Stewart, that shows that we will now have every single play area graded green rag status, and that is something I'm very proud of. I'm proud of this council in doing that. We can sometimes be the leading city on children's rights, but it's our actions that are important, and those actions for all our children wherever they live. There is a slight delay. Councillor Fitzgerald I don't blame you for being parochial on this occasion because you're interested in your area, like all of us are. But it'll be well worth waiting for. And at least we'll have the right of, you will see the smile on your children's faces in that ward.
Well, I hope so. Thank you.
Well, that's a promise.
Oh, right.
Rob, Councillor Stewart.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, I'm not going to extend the point. Councillor Francis Davis has covered it well, and again, I pay tribute to him and Councillor Andrew Stevens and all of the lead officers who've been delivering this for all of Swansea. And just to say, I was talking to the owner of Dragonplay, who are one of the contractors delivering some of our playgrounds, local firm, and he was saying that nobody else is doing this. It's been an immense boost to his company, to the local supply chain, and it's fantastic. But of course, Councillor Gerald, you are right. There are some challenges, especially with COVID and Brexit, for some raw materials. We're seeing that on very big projects as well as playgrounds. And some of these things are a bit of a trade-off. But, you know, as the local member there, if you want to look again and ask for us to wait until we can try and find another surface that can be sourced locally, but it will unfortunately mean a delay to the playground going in your area. And you know, it's a balance for you as the local member as to whether you want to accept the investment that's on offer and get it in so the children can start enjoying it, or wait a little longer. I mean, those are some of the choices you can make as a local member. But you know, we're very keen to make sure that everybody and every child who lives in any area of Swansea has the best equipment as soon as possible, and that's what the announcements are about.
Yeah, well, thank you, Leader. We are going to have to wait a little longer. We're going to have to wait until the end of January, and it won't be ready until March. So presumably I will have to run with that and put up with the rubberized surface coming from presumably South Africa. Thank you.
Same as Morris and Councillor Fitzgerald.
Oh, there we are. I'm in good company then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Question 5 then. Councillor Cyril Anderson.
Yeah, thank you, President Member. I've no further questions.
Okay, thank you, Cyril. Question 6, Councillor.
Councillor, President Member, can I ask the leader a question, please, on this answer?
Which answer?
On question 5.
Question 5, back to 5.
Under peoples and jobs, it's really welcoming to see apprenticeships and job opportunities and create and retain over 10,000 jobs. Is he able to say tonight where those jobs are being created and where they're being retained? If he can't and give a written answer, that's fine.
Okay. Leader?
Yeah. Yes, certainly. Some of those jobs will be created as part of the investment in the public sector hub that, as you know, Councillor Holly, we're in discussions with UK and Welsh Government about, and that strategy, which the UK Government and Welsh Government have supported for some time, sees the relocation of certain functions out of London and other capital cities into other cities and towns across the UK. So that will be part of it, and as I say, retention as well means the fact that by building the office space and converting buildings in and around the city centre, that also retains jobs that would otherwise be lost. You know, we have seen for many, many years companies, when they get to a certain size, having to leave Swansea because they don't have suitable office accommodation. And of course, we're about to start the Kingsway today with, Kingsway in the next few days, with Bouygues starting the 71-72, which will bring 600 jobs there. But in terms of the recovery fund, also we've referenced previously, we know that we've saved jobs in hospitality by the decisions we've taken to allow the free use of outside space, and that we have extended, and we will continue to consider extending until the pandemic is fully over. But also the investment that we're offering in business investment to encourage people to shop local. So that's direct support for towns and individual businesses across Swansea, up to £10,000, 100% grant. I think we've had over 570 applications in. I think actually maybe we'll be over the 600 mark now. So again, if every one of those got £10,000, that would be some £6 million going direct into businesses there. And of course, every one of those businesses employs 3, 5, 10 people. And of course, that is job retention, encouraging people to spend local and keep jobs secure locally. You'll also expect me, Councillor Holly, to making more announcements in the coming months as the next phase of developments come online. And again, I hope to be able to give you more clarity in terms of how that fund has helped retain and create jobs as we progress.
Yeah, thank you very much, Leader, for that. I think it's incredibly important that we look at apprenticeships and job opportunities. And, you know, if you can, in the next couple of weeks or couple of months, give us more details on that. I think everybody will be appreciative of that.
Yeah, certainly will do, Councillor Holly. And I know there are a number of cabinet members who are involved in the apprenticeships programme. So I'm very happy to bring a report to a future council to detail that.
Okay, thank you. Question 6 then, Councillor Kevin Griffiths. Kevin?
I think he left a message that he had to leave, Chair.
Yeah, it was in the chat.
Yes, he did, Chair.
Okay, any other supplementaries? Gareth Sullivan, Wendy Fitzgerald? No?
Not for me, Chair.
No? No. No, okay, thank you. Question 7 then.
I got my hand up, Chair.
Sorry, Philip Downing.
Yeah, that was good timing, Chair. I just come through the door. I'm happy to say I've had my booster.
Okay,
for those people that don't like me, yeah, it hurt. Yes, yeah, on this question, just a bit of a background to it. Many conversations were had with the comprehensive school about this playing surface, and they opted for the 2G facility rather than the 3G alternative. This surface will be used each day for the school for approximately 5 hours during the PE lessons, and this will be up to all the 184 people in the school could use this 2G facility. PE lessons consist of football, hockey, netball, as well as basketball, touch rugby and quick cricket. Most of the sports I just mentioned could not be played on a 3G surface. The beauty of this surface means that pupils can use the pitch on break and lunch times. They can go straight onto the pitch without changing footwear, which you cannot do on a 3G surface. It would also be available to the wide community in the evenings as part of the school's leisure facilities. So I'd like to ask the Cabinet member, because the question does mention that by the questionnaire that he used his community fund, budget, sorry. Can the Cabinet member give Council a breakdown of the funding for this 2G facility?
Thank you, President Member. I can certainly echo Councillor Downing's comment that this is going to be a wonderful facility both to the school and to the community, and it's to be warmly welcomed, no doubt, in Pontarddulais. In terms of the breakdown of funding, I think I'd like to refer you to the Cabinet Member for Finance, the leader, because I think he'll have those details to hand, President Member.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Downing and Councillor Smith. Yes, my understanding, because Councillor Downing, yes, we met, as you'll recall, with the head and those from the school, following the commitment that we'd made prior to the last election to deliver an all-weather facility in Pontarddulais. And as you rightly say, it was their choice that they'd prefer a 2G pitch, which was more flexible and more suitable for the school's needs, and that's why that has been delivered. And again, I'm grateful for your contribution to that in making money available from your budget. I understand we had 30k from the Play Fund from recollection, with 6k coming from yourself and from Councillor Griffiths. And I believe you allocated 15k from the capital scheme as well, which obviously was a further offer that we'd made to that. So taken together with some other funding, that fetched us up to the level where we were able then to deliver that 2G facility, as you said. And, you know, I think as we've done in a number of other locations, and Councillor Smith again will know a number of schools are now opted for both 3G and 2G. I think it'll be a fantastic facility in Pontarddulais, and you should be commended for making sure that you had not only the match funding that Councillor Griffiths put in, but the additional funding that you bid for to attract that to the scheme so it could be delivered.
Thank you. Good, thank you. Okay, question 7, Councillor Cyril Anderson. Cyril?
Yeah, thank you, presiding member. Thank you for the cabinet member for the response. I've got no further questions.
Further? No from anyone else? No? Okay, and that concludes the part A. Those that takes us to the notices of motion, I believe. Find the first one. Okay, notices of motion on unity. Councillor Alison Pugh. I believe Alison.
Yeah, thank you, presiding member. I'm really pleased to be here tonight and to bring this motion forward. It's taken a while in getting here because of partnership working and COVID and everything, but we're here. So I was really thrilled when I was contacted by the Equalities Officer of Unite the Union. It was an honour that she felt that myself and Louise and I, if I'm speaking properly, as approach to equality is fitted with their aims and objectives. We were asked to bring a joint trade unions unity over division charter before yourselves, which would set out 5 core principles, which are aimed at building more inclusive and harmonious workplaces. We joined together with Councillor David Hopkins and with Unite the Union, Unison and GMB, and the 5 principles have unanimously been agreed by all the unions. You know, why do we need a unity of a division charter? Well, there's been, as we know, huge social and political changes over the last few years, and we are faced with social divisions, especially in race, ethnicity, religion and nationality. And as it states in the charter that you can see, you know, reported race crimes have increased by nearly 30% since 2016. And our own officers would very much support that. We are very aware of it. So the joint trade unions believe that racial discrimination and intolerance has no place in modern society. This charter provides a starting point to a proactive approach to having a more inclusive workplace. And I would like to take at this time the opportunity to say thank you to Councillor Leslie Walton, who has kindly agreed to become our diversity and inclusion champion to help embed this charter. So thank you, presiding member. I'm happy to put this motion forward.
Thank you, Alison. Councillor Leslie Walton to second.
Sorry, Chair, it's me to second, if that's okay.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Apologies. Yeah, Chair, I'll be very brief because I know we're late for time. Just to say, this charter obviously is one that has been, as Councillor Pugh said, has been used elsewhere and has been passed elsewhere. The good news, I guess, in this is that when we looked at this motion, it already had elements in it that we were already progressing. And one of those, of course, is, as Councillor Pugh suggested, we've already appointed some time ago a diversity champion, and Councillor Walton has been doing an excellent job as that. So whilst this references inclusion champion, we already have a brilliant inclusion champion in Councillor Walton. So it was just to make that point that whilst the language in there is one that has been used because of the because we were trying to stay true to the original motion, obviously Swansea is already ahead on a number of these points. So just for that explanation, but I'm very happy to support, Chair, and obviously happy to second.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Chris Holly.
Thank you, presiding member. I'm quite more than happy to support this notice of motion. I believe that regardless of colour, creed, race or whatever, it's the individual that should be looked at and not the exterior. And as such, I think this notice of motion is fine. I'll support it.
Good. Thank you, Chris. Councillor Lyndon Jones. Lyndon. Lyndon.
I'm trying to. Ah, there we go. Sorry, apologies. I couldn't unmute myself. I'm very happy to support this motion because first and foremost, I believe it's important that everybody is treated equally and given the same opportunities despite race, religion and nationality. And quite frankly, there should be zero tolerance for anything else. So absolutely support the motion, Alison, and well done for bringing it forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lyndon. Councillor Leslie Walton.
Thanks, Presiding Member. Yes, I felt I had to speak here because as it's already pointed out, I am the diversity champion. So needless to say, I'm very pleased to support this motion and I look forward to taking forward the aims of the Charter. But also, as our leader Rob Stewart alluded to, this is already part of the role I've been progressing over the last few months since taking on the role of champion. And I will obviously continue to do my best to promote diversity in the workplace. And I believe that we need to use every route we possibly can to ensure that this happens. And in doing so, as people have already said, we need to treat people equally. So we need to instill a culture that's more tolerant and genuinely shows solidarity across the board, across all of our workforce. So just to finally say, if this motion is passed, which by the sounds of it, hopefully it will be, I think this is going to be a great basis to do even more work together in partnership with unions. And I think it's an excellent stepping stone towards the aims of both us as a council and together with the unions. So very more than happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you. No one else indicating. Alison, do you want to sum up?
I only to say thank you to everybody for the support and just really I'll let the unions know and everybody. I think they'll all be really pleased with the way this is going to go now. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Perhaps I should ask the monitoring officer, do members of these unions need to claim interest, the ones that have?
No, I don't think so, Presiding Member. I think this is a notice of motion which is adopting a charter. It does stem from the unions, but I don't think they need to declare an interest.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Mr. Evans, take a vote, please.
Okay, the vote has been launched. I'll give you all a couple of moments. If anybody's been unable to see the vote, if you could raise your virtual hand and I will call you to take your verbal vote. Right, who have I got? Councillor Phil Downing?
Yeah, 4.
4. Councillor Joe Hale? Councillor Joe Hale, how do you vote?
You muted, Joe.
Councillor Hale, there you are.
Yes, sorry, 4. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Hale. Anyone else?
That is Councillor Peter Jones. I'm 4. Can't raise my hand, sadly.
It's okay. Okay, I'm going to close the poll then. And again, that is unanimous for Chair.
Good. Thank you very much. Okay, and the second notice of motion this evening is on page 266, and it's on nature emergency, and I believe Councillor Peter Jones is going to move it. Peter?
Thank you very much, Presiding Member. I shall talk from a global perspective because the nature emergency, of course, is global, as climate change is. I hope I can keep it within the 5 minutes, but if I go a little over, please indulge me. Life on this planet in all its forms, by which I mean the diversity of species, is at risk, serious risk. And our species, Homo sapiens, is very much, sadly, to blame. We face the twin and interrelated crises of global climate change and biodiversity loss. Currently, of course, we are in the midst of COP26 in Glasgow, addressing the climate issue. But less than a month ago, a similar UN conference, COP15, took place in China, focused on sustainable development goals, including biodiversity loss and the need for a recovery programme. Sadly, our media have not reported much on this COP, but it is every much as important as COP26. The COP15 outcome focused on what it called, quote, our suicidal war against nature, quote, and suggested that, quote, safeguarding biodiversity is the defining task of this decade, quote. One has to set that in the context of climate change, of course, but they are interrelated. Global biodiversity has intrinsic value. Sorry, there are interruptions, Presiding Member. I don't quite understand.
Yeah, I'm looking to see whose mic it was. I can't find anybody unmuted. So I'm watching Councillor Jones.
Yeah, sorry, I think that was me, Chair.
May I continue, Presiding Member?
Okay, yeah, we can hear you, Peter. Continue.
Thank you. Global biodiversity has intrinsic value. We do not know whether life exists elsewhere in the universe. Probably it does. But our species has been steadily destroying the conditions for much of life here on Earth. Loss of habitats, including forests, chemical pollution of air, water and soils, industrial scale agriculture, industrial scale sea and ocean fishing, the movement of invasive species, threatening ecosystems, and of course, global greenhouse gas emissions, changing climates worldwide. I suggest, Presiding Member, that our species has a moral, or if you like, ethical responsibility to protect life on this planet. And we have failed to do so over millennia. We are heading towards what the US ecologist Edwin Wilson back in the 90s called, quote, a lonely planet. And what Rachel Carson back even further in the 1960s described famously as a silent spring. Nature brings beauty, peace, and tranquility to all of us. It is essential to human mental and physical health and well-being. But nature also provides what we might call nature-based solutions to many of the problems globally that we faced. Carbon sequestration through photosynthesis from trees, from peatland and so on. Peatland, very important, of course, here in Wales. Soil creation and management, food plants, of course, air pollution management, medicines from plants, flood prevention and freshwater purification, and shade and colour in our towns and cities. So we need to speak up for nature because nature is unable to speak up for itself. It does not have a voice. We need to speak up for the polar bear that is losing its snow and ice habitat. We need to speak up for the African elephant, fast disappearing from the effects of poaching and habitat loss. We even need to speak up for the common, or what formerly common, hedgehog and greenfinch in our gardens, no longer so common, sadly. We need to see what we are doing to the diversity of life on our planet to speak up for nature. And that, Presiding Member, is what this motion is about. I'm an enthusiast for nature, as I'm sure many know. I hope, therefore, that members this evening will want to support this motion and the recommendations within it. I commend it. Thank you, Presiding Member.
Thank you, Peter. Councillor Andrew Lewis, 2 seconds.
Thank you, Presiding Member. And Councillor Jones has articulated the global position very well. So I intend to concentrate more on the local position. Firstly, I'd like to thank Councillor Peter Jones for bringing this to Council this evening. I'm extremely proud to second this notice of motion, which, if approved by Council, will in turn mean changes to the Climate Change Steering Group to become the Climate Change and Nature Steering Group, to include nature and biodiversity, which is, of course, intrinsically linked to any actions, policies and strategies we will implement as a council to try and mitigate against and help tackle climate change. Including the nature emergency along with the climate emergency will align us with Welsh Government's declaration on June 2019 to declare a nature emergency alongside their climate change emergency. I completely endorse the request for further resource and funding from both governments to enable us to do more and at pace and scale. Fellow Cabinet members and officers across the Council have already been extremely proactive on this agenda, and I think it's important to acknowledge their work to date. These are just some of the examples as follows. And I know Councillor Jones himself was instrumental in the implementation of a full-time Section 6 officer for biodiversity. We have the green infrastructure policy, tree planting across the city and county, giving councillors choice for parts of their wards to go to meadow, for example, grass verges and parks. Green walls on city centre developments, including the Arena car park. A city park next to the Arena instead of another level of car parking. The iconic building at 7172 Kingsway, which will be the first biophilic building of its kind in the UK. Wildflower planting. The proposed sand dune protection project in Swansea Bay, the proposed Mumbles coastal protection scheme, green roofs on bus shelters, commitment to green roof bin stores. Only today I was at the Waterfront Museum where the launch of Graft Bach, offering free drop-in gardening sessions, teaching families skills about growing and eating healthily together with their 40-foot polytunnel and the beehives on their balconies, as well as the Oxfam mini exhibition in light of COP26. The excellent work across education and schools with outdoor classrooms, the work of the eco committees, and the lessons around the importance of nature and biodiversity for our young people. And also the fantastic work of Swansea Environment Centre, promoting sustainable living. And last but not least, the Council is fully engaged with the Queen's Canopy Initiative, planting more trees across the UK for the benefit of our communities, to name but a few of the actions that we are carrying out as a council. And so in conclusion, Presiding Member, I hope members will agree there is a huge amount of work already happening with the climate and nature agenda by this council. That said, with more funding and resource, we can do so much more and at a faster pace. And so I fully support this notice of motion, and I'm very happy to second this. And thank you again to Councillor Jones for bringing it to Council this evening. Thank you, Presiding Member.
Thank you, Andrew. Councillor Lyndon Jones.
Presiding Member, very happy to support this motion. I think during the pandemic, so many people rediscovered the environment around them, and they liked what they saw, and I think it is really important that we take this forward. But I think it is very important too that we actually take people with us on this journey and not simply tell them what to do. And I think that is the challenge for us all. But I'm really happy to support the motion.
Thank you, Lyndon. Councillor Wendy Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Chair. I fully support Peter in this motion. I think what he said, is something we all have to be alarmed about, and we should be out there doing our very best to protect and enhance biodiversity. And yes, the council are doing very positive things, but equally, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to emphasize this, the council are doing things that are not acceptable in the kind of situation we're in. And being parochial, look at what happened in my ward when the civic office site was turned over to a building site. We lost 120 odd mature trees. We lost 70 plus. That was legitimate felling. That was legitimate in order to accommodate the houses. We lost over 70 trees unlawfully felled, ancient woodland. We lost a giant sequoia. We are now losing a large part of the green wedge to accommodate houses. We're losing, and this is an alarming figure. I've taken it out of the planning application. It says, and I quote, 42,621 metres of hedgerows. I think that is a mistake, but that is what it is saying. In my ward, that is what we are supposedly losing in hedgerows. That is shocking. We should not be doing this. We have to review how we are approaching our green heritage, because we are at risk of losing it and everything that it provides for us. So I fully back what Peter said is proposing. I think we have to look very much more carefully at what we're doing, especially in the peripheries of Swansea. Yes, we may be improving the green infrastructure in the city centre, but in the peripheries, in northwest Swansea, we are going to be destroying our green field heritage by turning it all over to massive housing developments, which it appears from the latest annual monitoring report, we no longer seem to need in quite the same way. So fully back you, Peter, and I hope the rest of the council will as well.
Thank you. Councillor McDay. Mike?
Yes, thank you, Presiding Officer. Like others before me, totally support the motion in front of us today. While we focused on the impact upon nature, that impact upon nature does have a devastating effect on human life. My son has worked for international aid agencies and was in Haiti and Japan during the terrible devastation that was caused by natural events. And we can't fail to be moved by the pictures we see on our TV screens of children starving and dying from thirst as they are impacted by the climate change that we see before us. We don't want to be accused of, as some in connection with COP26 have levelled the accusation against the world leaders of blah, blah, blah. We do need to be seen to be providing a lead and taking action, and thank you to Andrea Lewis for just outlining some of the actions that the council is taking. But I'd just like to support Councillor Wendy Fitzgerald in saying that there are difficult balances as a council that we must make. So, for example, the background behind me, where there's a tarmac path being going through woodland, and the damage that's been caused in Singleton Park, which I know that Peter Jones himself has been very concerned about, through allowing commercial type activities to go on. So I think there is much more that we can be doing as a council to look at ensuring that the balance is correct. And whenever decisions are taken, that we look really, really seriously at not just the equality impact and other assessments that are undertaken, but the environmental impact of the decisions that we take. So, but I'm totally supportive of this, and look forward to it being translated into further actions by the council to take a lead in this matter.
Thank you, Mike. Councillor Elliott King.
Yeah, thank you, Presiding Member. I just wanted to briefly point out that it's probably topical that this motion comes to this council, because in the report I presented earlier on the Children and Young People's Rights Scheme, protecting the environment was a key feature of the consultation, the feedback from young people of issues that matters to them. And I think that should be no surprise to us that it's clearly top of their agenda and something they take a keen, active interest in. So I'm really very happy to support this motion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. I'm assuming that the hands I've still got up on legacy hands. Councillor Lyndon Jones, Councillor Wendy Fitzgerald. Yes, both legacy hands. No one else? Okay, Peter, do you want to sum up, please? 1 minute.
Can't unmute.
I've had that problem too.
You are unmuted, Councillor Jones. We can hear you.
We can hear you, Peter. Go on.
You've just muted yourself now, Councillor Jones.
Thank you for your patience, Presiding Member. I'm really struggling with Teams this evening. I've just managed to unmute. If I go to go silent, it means that it's muted me again. First of all, I'd like to thank the positive comments that so many members have made this evening and the recognition of the importance of nature and biodiversity to our future, particularly the future of our own species, as much as the future of so many other species. Wendy Fitzgerald rightly made a number of points in relation to conflict between, if you like, environmental considerations and practical considerations, housing or whatever. And clearly this is going to be an issue going forward. I'm hoping that by passing this motion, the importance of the environment and the importance of nature will gain at least equal priority with other priorities, and that perhaps the past negligence of the environment, not necessarily by this council, but more widely, as evidenced in my remarks earlier, the lack of concern, the lack of recognition of the importance of the environment will go, and that the importance of the environment will take equal place with other matters. I'm very grateful, and very grateful also to Andrea Lewis for her kind words. I'm sure that she will carry this forward issue very successfully in the Cabinet. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, been moved and seconded. Mr. Evans, will you take the vote, please?
Thank you, Presiding Member. The vote has been launched. I'll give you all a moment or so. Again, if you don't receive it, please raise your virtual hand and I will take your vote. I'll start with you, Councillor Jones. I know you've struggled to raise your hand all evening, so.
After a great deal of thought, I'll vote for it.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else?
Yeah,
No?
Chair, I'm sorry, I'm having problems voting. I'm for. Can you?
Any others? No. Okay, I'm going to close the poll. Ooh. Right, I'm just closing the poll. And that's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Okay, well done. Thank you all for your attendance this marathon meeting of the council. That concludes our agenda. I declare the meeting closed. Okay, bye. Stay safe.
Bye.
Ew.